Welcome back, darlings. My name is Krista K and I'm back again with another video. Now in today's video, it is cold. I'm sick. My back hurts. Not from anything. I've been sick, bedridden for the past couple of days, and I was like, you know what? I gotta film a video for this week at least because, girl, I gotta get working. I gotta do, my job. So yeah, I got something to support my back. New hoodie, not mine, my older brother's. Before y'all ask where he got it, I don't know. He won't tell me nothing. But yeah, today's video is about innocent convicts set free, 5 of them. I've always found like this type of thing very interesting because it's like, oftentimes, not to blame the police, but sometimes they just go off based on if whether you fit the description or not, and they don't really like dig deeper because once again there's a lot of crime happening in the world, so they don't really have time to just focus on this one specific crime. So yeah, I always found it interesting that that's something that happens, that people really have everything to prove that they're innocent, but because they fit the description so well, they just have to go to jail. It's sick to me. One of the reasons why I wanted to become a lawyer, because I wanted to save the world. I wanted to save people from not going to jail when they're innocent. But as I grew up, I realized that there's so much happening behind the scenes. It's not just the lawyer, the criminal, and the case. It's so many other things that happen in the background. So yeah, that's why I decided to become a doctor, because at least I can save lives that side. Anyways, let's get into the reaction. Please mind my little brother in the background. He always starts screaming when I want to film. I don't know what's wrong with him. Let's go.
It started in 2004 when the Honduran immigrant was accused of killing 2 women. A man who was sentenced to die literally was on death row.
So it's the case of this guy named Clemente Aguirre. And if I tell you this story, you'll say you got to be making the up. It can't be true.
14 years, 4 months, and 19 days I've been incarcerated. 10 years, 3 months of them in death row.
On June 25th, 2004, in Altamonte, Florida, 24-year-old...
My thing is, sometimes in these cases, you'll find that the police officers didn't do you'll find that the cops in charge of the case weren't really taking it seriously, and they weren't doing enough of a proper job, which is one of the things that always pissed me off, is that you have one job, go through everything. They'd be like, this doesn't match up, but the rest does, so he's our guy. And it's like, you need to be 100% sure, but again, it's not an easy job, so I'm not really blaming them, but I'm blaming them. So yeah, it just, when you hear stories like this, you're like, what can we as a society do better? And yeah, social media has kind of sort of helped, but yeah.
Clemente was indicted on charges of first-degree murder and burglary, a crime that he did not commit.
From the start, Aguirre Harkin said he found the women dead, that he tried to help, and that's how their blood got on his clothes and his footprints.
It was a gruesome crime that found his neighbors, 68-year-old Carol Barris and 47-year-old Cheryl Williams, stabbed to death.
I didn't do it. I don't kill anybody.
However, despite Clemente protesting his innocence, police decided he was the only possible suspect, and he was sentenced to death. In the 14 years on death row, Clemente never stopped trying to clear his name, and he wasn't wrong either. As it turns out, Samantha, Cheryl's daughter, prior to the murder, was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder.
Within inches of the mother.
Which is, once again, what I've been saying since the beginning of this video. It's all about police officers being hasty in their work. I've watched a lot of crime my time and days, and I know the first thing is, okay, if there's a murder, we'll first suspect the husband, right? Because it's always the husband. And if it doesn't really match up with the husband, we look at other people. We never only focus on one person, right? Because oftentimes, if it's not the husband, it's the friend. If it's not the friend, it's the children. If it's not the children, it's the neighbor. It's always has to be connected somehow. So for the police officers to just be like, oh, he's the guy because we found him at the scene, we're not going to look for anybody else, is to me faulty work, faulty detectivism, or whatever you want to call it. Investigation. There we go. It's faulty investigation, because yes, it makes sense that the blood is found on him if he tried to help. It does. It makes also sense that his footprints are found. My thing is, why aren't we looking at other possible routes? Because once again, I think this is a step, if I'm not mistaken. I've watched a lot of crime documentaries, but it's, you identify the criminal, and then you identify the motive, and then you identify the alibi. If you haven't done the three of these things, then this is not your man. This is a possible suspect. So I feel like they were like, okay, he was here, he was in the scene, whatever, he has the blood and stuff like that. But what is the motive? I don't think they pinpointed the motive. You can't just say, oh my God, they're neighbors. Okay, but I have neighbors. If they die, that means that I'm the killer? No. It's should I just become a detective at this point? Like, I'm sorry.
Killer's body, and in a bathroom where the state argued the killer cleaned up, is the daughter's blood, a trail of the daughter's blood going to the bathroom, and then the mother's blood on the outside of the daughter's window. And there's in the doctor's notes, a few years before this happened, where she says to her mother, I'm gonna kill you if I ever get out of here. I'll kill all of you. Then we find out that she has confessed all over town. We had people coming in all over the place, testifying, affidavits that she said, I killed my mother and my grandmother, I'll do it to you.
With such irrefutable evidence implicating Cheryl's daughter, the day finally arrived for Clemente.
I do know that nobody believed me back then. No one. Besides my mother, nobody believed me. And I thank you for it. From the bottom of my heart.
He holds back tears and immediately heads towards friends and family to celebrate.
But today is a brighter day, a new day, and I got good hopes for the future.
I find it disrespectful that sorry, my back is giving out. But I find it disrespectful that the police officers never checked. I don't know. This is why I say crime series and crime dramas make police officers look so good and so detailed that when you watch people being set free and wrongful convictions, you're pissed. You're like, bro, what are we missing? What are you not doing? What do we as a society need to do for you to conduct your investigation properly? Because this is simple checking her mental records. Nobody checked the daughter's mental records, because to me, when somebody dies, the first people I go to is the people around that person. Husband, mother, daughter, son, cousin, friends, people that she worked with, all of those. That's the first people you basically look at. Why? Because most of the times, those are the people that will kill them.
This is Devontae Sanford, who in 2007 was sentenced to 37 to 90 years in prison. A horrific quadruple murder that he did not commit. He was only 14 years old at the time. Devontae was walking outside his home in...
This is messed up because I feel so much I feel particular about kids. There are child murderers, but I feel like at the same time, not every child is a child murderer. So it's 14. Oh, I can't say he's just a kid, because there are kids that kill at 14.
In his pajamas when he was arrested just 3 blocks away from a vicious crime scene involving 4 people and an AK-47 assault rifle. Devontae was taken to the local police station, where it turns out that the police coerced him into a false confession with the use of leading questions and feeding him facts from the case. To make matters worse, his lawyer at the time didn't help by convincing him to enter a guilty plea. His current lawyer had this to say.
In the course of their targeting him, they literally fabricated evidence and committed perjury in order to ensure that this young man, that they could get a conviction.
But just 3 weeks later, there was another twist in this tale. And that twist came in the form of hitman Vincent Smothers. Smothers was arrested for 12 murders, 4 of which turned out to be the case that Sanford was convicted for. The lack of action from the justice courts got the attention of the Northwestern Center of Wrongfully Convicted Youths, who pushed to reopen the case, which led to DeMonte's freedom in 2016.
It was a homecoming 9 years in the making.
Interestingly enough, Devonte is thankful to one particular person for his freedom: Smothers.
He protected me, not the cops. The cops took advantage of me. It's because of this man. You know, I'm able to walk and breathe and just, you know, be at peace.
As it turns out, all that time spent wrongfully incarcerated may have taken its toll on Sanford, who found it hard acclimatizing back into regular society.
New and serious trouble for Devonte Sanford. The 25-year-old was convicted of murder here in Detroit, then exonerated and released from prison.
He was arrested for assault in 2018, and this time there was no hitman to take the heat.
This story reminds me of this series. I don't know when it came out. I think it was like beginning pandemic. It was if I remember it, I'll put it up here. But it was basically the same thing. They just coerced a bunch of kids. First of all, I don't think kids will watch this, but if you have a kid, tell them that if they get caught by the police and brought to like the police station, well, in America, this is what I know in America, they can't. You can ask for an adult to be present. You need to keep saying, it's either I want you to call my parents, or I want an adult present that I know, or I want a lawyer. 3 of those things. If they do not grant you any of those things, do not speak. I know it's going to be hard. I know it is hard. I know that you probably want to scream and get out of the situation. But babes, that is the best thing that you can do. And don't let them tell you what you did. Keep the same narrative. Keep the same narrative until the end. I don't care if they tell you that your friend said A, B, C, D. Keep your narrative. If you didn't do it, you didn't do it. Don't allow anybody to tell you that you did it when you didn't do it.
In 1991, Queens, New York, 19-year-old Gregory Counts and 21-year-old Van Dyke Perry were sentenced to life in prison for a crime they did not commit. The victim was held at knife point out front of her Queens home, thrown into a car, and driven to Central Park, where she was then raped multiple times.
Central Park 5. The series with the Central Park 5. When I remember it, babes, I will put it up, I promise you.
Claimed that the men responsible were Counts, Perry, and a third unknown man. In 2017, after having already served 11 years, the Innocence Project reinvestigated the Counts and Perry case using DNA that was retested. DNA cleared both Counts and Perry from the semen found on the victim. It led to a man who was deceased. Weird, right? So why would the victim make up such a heinous story and send 2 innocent men to jail? The answer will get your blood boiling.
The complainant now admits that her boyfriend forced her to lie and falsely claim these men sexually assaulted her. Her boyfriend was trying to avoid having to pay a debt to these 2 men.
All that for a boyfriend avoiding debt, the things we do for money. Let's have a look as both Counts and Perry sit in court, hearing the sweet sound of freedom echoing throughout. They do their best to hold back their emotions. Although they are free and reintegrating back into society now, it's clear that this horrible, unjust story will haunt both these men for the rest of their lives.
It's never going to be over. The reason why, because it tormented my life and it's my past.
I find it sick that you could just lie like that and people will believe you. I don't want to assume her race, but this is something that a lot of women do, and it's sick. Don't do that. It's sick. You took 11 years out of this man's life just because your boyfriend told you to. I hope you still with that boyfriend. I hope, because if you broke up with that boyfriend, babe, it's even worse. Because now you don't ruin someone's life. I did, and listen, and people never talk about like how to reintegrate society after you went through something like that. Like, how do you just come back into the world? Because whether you're exonerated or not, people still know you as that criminal. You know.
1993, New Jersey. 22-year-old Tito Marino was murdered in his video store. Another gruesome death by stabbing. Eric Kelly and Ralph Lee were both convicted of a crime they had no connection to. The whole story was put together by police using coercion and a sketchy eyewitness. They then used those statements against Lee, and that's how they nailed their conviction. It wasn't until once again the Innocence Project got involved in their case that Eric and Ralph felt a bit of hope.
And the state has just dug in their heels ever since. They refused to investigate this other person, refused to talk to him, didn't look into his history, and instead are just, blindly clinging to this conviction at all costs.
Lee was released after 11 years. However, it wasn't until 2018, after having spent 24 years in prison, that Kelly was finally given back his freedom, after new DNA evidence was presented to the judge in court.
Therefore, in light of the foregoing reasons, the motion to file a guilty sentence count 3 of the element.
Interestingly enough, we find Judge Joseph Portelli in full Karen mode.
Listen to me. It's not a moment of choice. It's a moment of justice. Okay? It's not something to celebrate or not celebrate.
We're not sure about you, but freedom after 24 years of wrongful incarceration seems like a pretty good reason to celebrate. Kelly and Lee didn't let this dampen their moods. Both were hungry, high in spirits, and thankful for everyone that had played a part in their release.
Mainly, I want to eat. I'm a little hungry. Be with my legal team. I want to thank them. I want to thank my family. First and foremost, it's been a long time. I just don't know. I'm just out of words right now. I'm just feeling good right now. That's all.
What would you want someone who didn't know anything about your case to know?
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent man.
All's well that ends well. For now.
Right, in the case of People versus Juan Ignacio Catalan, is that your true name?
This is Juan Catalan, the man saved by sitcom. An alibi caught on camera, but not in the way you think. On May 13th, 2003, 16-year-old Martha Puebla, a witness in a case of a gang slaying, was shot and killed in front of her home in Sun Valley, California. It wasn't until 3 months later that the FBI arrested 24-year-old Juan Catalan during a raid in front of his family's machine shop. Juan was interrogated for hours. It seemed like they already had a huge amount of evidence against him. A witness sketch that looks like you. A witness that was supposed to take the stand against your brother gets murdered in cold blood. It doesn't look good. But Juan consistently pleads his innocence, telling officers that they're trying to pin this crime on the wrong person.
You guys are gonna take away my life for this bullshit. You killed somebody. Wait a minute. Those are very strong words right there. I did not kill nobody. I would never kill nobody. I never do anything to hurt anybody. Convince us otherwise.
That's not his job.
As things get sticky, Juan remembered that he was at a Dodgers game with his daughter on that day. But a stadium full of tens of thousands of people, what are the chances that someone captured him there? And even more so, the chances that you'd be able to retrieve said footage. Well, this is where this case becomes wild. Juan remembered he was on TV, but not the Dodgers cam. It just so happened that Larry David, the creator of Seinfeld and star of the HBO show Curb Your Enthusiasm, was shooting an episode in the exact same aisle as Catalan and his daughter.
The episode was that I picked up a hooker in the carpool lane and took her to Dodger Stadium.
What are the chances? Juan's lawyer contacted HBO, got access to the footage of that episode, and ran the tapes. Hours of research brought no results, and he was running out of tape and felt like he wasn't going to get what he needed. And then, there it was, the once-in-a-lifetime chance of an alibi caught on tape.
And I pointed at the screen and I said, that's him, roll that back.
This footage, combined with a phone call made to his girlfriend at the exact time he was leaving the stadium, led to his case being thrown out. Both detectives were found guilty of coercion and falsifying their reports. As for Juan, what can you say? Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
From getting the tickets on the day of to being caught on camera, well, what are the chances that out of 58,000 seats, they're filming on my aisle? I look at it like I did win the lottery because I got a new opportunity at life, with my family. I was so happy and grateful for that.
I hate how easy it is for cops to just be like, yep, this is our man. Where's the proof? I mean, we don't have the proof like that, but we can get him to say that was him. I'm not saying it's easy being a cop, but I'm not saying that, you should take it lightly. These are people's lives. What is this? These are people's lives that y'all are playing with. And and it's not small sentences. This is 11 years, 12 years, 20 years. I just, I'd hope that the government's police officers, detectives, investigators, all of them, do a better job, please. If it means taking more time, then do that. Make sure that you get the right person, in jail. Don't put innocent people, because reintegrating society after you've been deemed a criminal is the hardest thing that anybody can do. And also, let's talk about programs to reintegrate criminals that have been set free into our society, because the reason why a lot of them relapse is because we shun them. So that was just something, I wanted to share with y'all. I wanted us to look at it. Yeah, so do it. What's it? Like, comment, and subscribe. My brother just decided to start screaming right now. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you at the next one.